Hi, everyone. Welcome to another interview from our interview series. Today, we will be interacting with Preeti, who is a CBAP certified business analyst, and we will listen to her journey of becoming CBAP certified. Hi, Preeti. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for asking. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you for giving this time to share your journey of becoming CBAP certified.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So before we begin, before we uh, dig deep dive into that journey of becoming CBAP certified, if you can tell us about yourself, what you were doing before taking up this certification, that would be great, Preeti.
Sure. So I'm a senior business architect with a marketing company and a product company. So I deal with data and marketing day in and day out. But I started my journey as a developer and then moved on to business analysis and architecture later on. So my on-the-job training has been primarily how I learned business analysis, and it's been fascinating for me. I love communicating with clients and gathering requirements and problem solving and whatnot. So all this kind of made me more aligned to business analysis than any other field at this point.
That's great. That's great. And why CBAP, Preeti? Because there are so many other certifications related to business analysis available in the market. So what motivated you to go for CBAP certification?
I think for me, like I said, what I learned has been primarily on the job, and it's
Okay.
something that I learned from my seniors and other courses within the organization that I joined. And that's how I kind of understood how business analysis works. And then instinctively, you also know how to solve and kind of. I feel a good listener and a good way of problem solving and breaking down into smaller components. So these are great skills to have. But what I did not have was like a global standards. What is the best way of doing something rather than a million ways of doing something? Because everything goes sometimes when you're working on the field. But knowing the best standards is what I wanted to know. And that's how CBAP came across my research. And I wanted to pick this up. And this is something that gives you such a vast experience of everything from end to end. And that's something I was looking for.
I mean that is. Really, I'm really happy that CBAP motivated you, and CBAP you were able to gain a lot of knowledge and insights from this certification. It is one of the best certifications when it comes to the market standard and globally recognized as well. So this certification is not easy. The certification in the market. So let's talk about your preparation. How was that? How did that go?
Definitely one of the hardest exams I had to crack. And that's primarily because I was working and studying, so I had to make time for both. Um, and one of the other things that I also had to do was unlearn the way I knew about business analysis, because I learned a lot, and there could be like I said, a million ways to do things. But having that best practice needed me to stop thinking in the other ways and think Babcock way. So that was again the second part of my hardest in the journey that I had. And I think for me, it's just been balancing these two, and the time spent is how I think was the hard part of it. I did have a schedule, and I made sure that I made time for CBAP, and it took me a few months to get to it. And being part of Tech Canvas has been great in that regards, for sure.
And how long did it take you to complete this entire certification, starting from the day you decided that this is what I want to do, and the day, from that, the day when you achieved the certification?
So I think I started early March is when I sat down to
Yeah.
think, this is it, I'm going to do it. I've been thinking about it for years. Early March, I sat down and thought, I'm going to do this. And the first thing I did is signed up for Tech Canvas training, because I've already had people recommend this to me. And I thought if I get that training in place, I'm going to be more serious about it. And it did help. Having, the team work with me and seeing Harsh and Monica and all the people in the team with me, it motivated me because they are working so hard for my sake. So I wanted to put in more effort too. And having that support system really helped. So it took me almost about roughly, if I may put in with the breaks that I took in between work and everything, maybe 1.5 months or 2 months is what I took. And I had a very strict timeline. I had to wrap it up by about May or June end, or rather actually May end is what I was targeting. And that was I would roughly sum it up to about 1.5 months to 2 months, which was one of the hardest timelines that I put myself to. But yeah, that was my overall estimate.
You know what? 1.5 months to 2 months is really quick. People take, or I would say candidates take close to 1 year. And on an average, I have heard 3 months to 6 months. That's the average which I've heard, mostly 6 months. But that's really commendable. Doing it in 1.5 years to 2 years, sorry, 1.5 months to 2 months. That's really commendable.
Thank you. Thank you. It was hard.
It is hard. I mean, it sounds hard to me, honestly.
Yeah.
So let's now talk about Tech Canvas. What was your experience with them? Which element of Tech Canvas you liked the most? Was it training, question bank, or the overall course material, or say the overall experience altogether? So what was that one element which you want to highlight?
I think for me, it was the support system more than anything. I think having Harsh there to answer about some of the questions I might have, because I would have interpreted a specific statement from the Babok as something else, and he would be like, he'll clarify it for me and ask me to look at the bigger picture. And the tips and tricks that I got, right, from the trainer again, was how do I memorize even some of the best things, like the stakeholders required, the guidelines, all of this is, it was very hard for me to put it in my head and do a mind map. So with that structure in place, I could do it very well. And lastly, I think the exam prep, the questions, the mock questions that I had, just again looking at it gave me a sense of how I can anticipate the questions coming up in the exam. So these three were definitely the major points for me, because without this three, I feel I would have had a tough time because I was having such a short timeline as well. And I think one more thing that I loved about was how Harsh would be like, hey, it's going to be difficult, but you can do it. It's something that you can do. And we would share about how we can do this. For me, I had taken almost like, we had shared ideas on how to learn as well, which was great. Because for me, as part of the previous question as well, I would prep saying one day I would pick one knowledge area and get super comfortable with it. Then I would take the second day, I would learn the second one, and I would revise the first one. And then I would keep taking every day one knowledge area and then keep revising it. So in this way, I got a big picture in my head, which kind of really helped. So I think these are kind of the three most things that I really liked about Tech Canvas.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those wonderful, that wonderful feedback, Preeti. Now you're CBAP certified. There are so many people, who are preparing for it, or at least thinking about it. So any tips, tricks which you want to share with them?
Sure. I seem to be giving the answers ahead of time, I think. So my question is this, like everyday prep would be great. So I think for me, that really worked. And I had to actually take time off from work as well. So I know you want to do everything. You think you can do it with work. If you're not working and you want to pick this up, great. You have all the time in the world. But if you're working, then it's really hard. So I would suggest make dedicated time for this. While you're doing these trainings with Tech Canvas, I would even suggest take a few days off, or how much of a time that you need, and prep completely. Once you get that first hurdle done, which is get completely comfortable with Babok, all the knowledge areas and techniques, then revision can be something you can balance it out with your work. I would definitely say that. And second, use that template that was given by the trainers. I'm sure everybody would get that, just on how you can table the knowledge areas, the techniques, the inputs, the outputs, the stakeholders. Having that structure in your head, whether you write it down or you keep it in your mind, whatever works, get super comfortable, because there are questions that come up which expects you to kind of know those. So get that also super comfortable. And I think do a lot of exam prep. I did not do that for me because I think one of the advantage I had is I've been in the industry for so long that I was able to even answer some of the questions without doing the mock-up exams. But I did do the Tech Canvas mock exam. And a few other exam prep materials that I had. Once I was only confident, I went on and I did it. But I would suggest do more, get super comfortable. One of the things that I learned exactly in the exam was that I was nervous about the time, because I didn't prep enough during the mock test. So I wasn't able to equate time. Like, I don't know how much I have to take for this or how much I have to take for that. So that I think will really be helpful if people go to the mock exam as opposed to winging it like how I did. But yeah, that would be my couple of tips.
Okay, and do you want to talk about the exam day? How was that? How was your feeling? I mean, it's a tough exam, like I said, so it makes people nervous.
Yes. I was super nervous. I was supposed to, I feel like I've broken a lot of rules that I should not. And I was telling Harsh, I am sure, should I talk about this or not? Because I'm supposed to sleep really early and rest. I was told, don't stress over the previous night. And you should get like 70 and above in your mock test. Otherwise, don't even bother because that's great. I would definitely say the mock test on Tech Canvas is super great. Like if you finish 70, I think it's a pretty confident level to move on to. But I got 68 in the exam, and I was like,
Okay.
but I went back and I looked at my, I went back to look at my answer. I realized it was my miss. Like I knew the answer, but I missed to put the right one. So I kind of realized I was close to 70 and I was confident. So I went on. So I was super nervous the next day because I all this in my head thinking I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And I sat down and like I said, I didn't prep enough on the exam test, but I knew the Babok book completely and I had enough experience as a business architect. So when I finished the exam, I was surprised myself. I was like, did I get it? Did I get it? It was like that. It was definitely the hardest one I had to do because you're sitting in that room and isolated. You have other people maybe, but you're in a zone and you're looking at the time and that's 3.5 hours is a huge amount of time. So you're actually like in a different universe when you're doing that. I would only suggest be calm. You have done enough work before you get to that exam. Take one at a time. Focus on each one. If you don't know, mark it, go back and do it later. For me, somehow the math problems became too huge, though it's a very simple math problem. Then the minute I saw math, I was like, I'm going to bookmark this and come back to it later because I always want to focus on it more. So I kind of bookmarked what I could not do and I came back and I did it. I had enough time. Even with the way I was getting nervous about the time, I had enough time. So just be calm on the exam day. You've done enough. Do the prep exams as much as you can before and do one at a time and you should be able to do it. But I was super nervous for sure. And I was very happy that I did clear it.
Yeah. I mean, your success is our success, Preeti. So congratulations again. One last question. Sorry, go on.
No, I just said thank you so much. Definitely, I align with you. Mine is yours and yours is mine. Thank you.
One last question from my side before we wrap this up. What after CBAP? Now you're CBAP certified. What next?
Again, great question. I'm thinking of PSPO, CSM. I'm also looking at product owner kind of roles because as a business analysis and architect role, you move on to knowing the product more. So I'm looking at those as well. A few more certifications in my pipeline, which is not just product owner, a few more management and even project management for the matter, because I feel we kind of touch into all of these roles as a business analysis or analyst or architect. So all of those in my pipeline. Now that I've cracked this, I feel the others are going to be easier. So that's my next in my pipeline.
All right, Preeti. Thank you for sharing that wonderful journey of becoming CBAP certified. All the best for your future. And thank you again. Congratulations again as well.
Thank you so much, Nitin. And again, thank you so much for Tech Canvas. Couldn't have done it without you guys. That support system was the best that I had. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Take care.
You too.